she does. She goes to her family in Turkey and disappears under a tiny, thin blanket because Turkey is just really hot. During a long summer night, she breaks completely in the arms of her mother. They have long and deep conversations about their family, their history, and this is the very first time that her mother tells her the story of her grandmother. The grandmother grew up in a little nomadic Turkish family in a tiny mountain village. This little nomadic family, part of a community in Turkey, didn't belong there according to the regular Turks. And the grandmother also didn't belong to this family and this community because within she wanted something else. Not like other women in that village, the grandmother didn't want to bear any more children. All the other women wanted to do that because they wanted to keep the roots and the community alive because there were so little of them. So one day the grandmother decided to do something inside of her uterus, making it impossible to bear any more children. A very heroic but unacceptable deed in that time, and unfortunately one that cost her her life. Hearing this story for the very first time, the little girl starts to think. First, she recognizes that she's not the only one feeling different. And second, she questions whether this is genetically inheritable, to feel different, to feel other. She realizes she's not alone. Now the mother tells her own story. After the death of the grandmother, the mother marries a loving man from the Netherlands. It is an arranged marriage. Deep from within, the mother didn't want to abandon her family left in Turkey, but this was the best for everyone, they tell her. So she surrenders. She's welcomed in her new family. Being married into a family at that time meant that you were treated as an outsider, even though you had to sit inside all the time, bearing children, taking care of them, nurturing your husband, cooking, all that kind of stuff. After years of isolation, the mother decides to break through that tradition. She breaks through by going outside, learning the language, going to school. Her Dutch a bit flawed though, but still. And that's not all. She decides to help other women learn the language, learning to cycle, to swim. She even becomes the most beloved employee of low-cost supermarkets in the neighborhood. The little girl can't believe what she's hearing. She always felt ashamed for her non-existent grandmother, for her mother with her flawed Dutch, her mother working in this low-cost supermarket. Yet here she is, a woman from this family, a daughter of these mothers. She's sad and proud. She's happy, she smiles, she's crying, and she's so mad. She's angry for not standing up. Not standing up towards the wolf, towards the men, towards the producers, the film industry. She is mad for always pleasing others, being the good girl, the understanding one. Even more so because of the story of her grandmother and her own mother. For years, she's carrying this inner critic inside of her, waiting for approval by others so she can belong to them.
Hey, hello.
Hi!
How are you doing? So good to have you here.
Yes, I'm so excited. And watching this video again is so like, oh, I'm
Yes.
super excited.
I know, I'm curious all about it and I want to know more about this and all the amazing work that you do. So, yeah, good morning today here. Sunny, beautiful day from Tampa, Florida. And I know you are in Amsterdam right now. So, yeah, it's probably 3:30 p.m. for you, 9:30 a.m. here.
Good
And
morning.
for today's second day of the Grandma's March, and today's International Women's Day. I know, so what a good and excellent day you picked for uh, doing your presentation. I'm so excited. So yeah, I want to introduce you first because yeah, we need to show everybody the amazing woman we have today with us here. So Fatma. Fatma is many things. And I think the first one I can say today that she's facing a huge talent is being a mother and a creator. And I am sure a lot of women that are going to watch us or are watching us right now can relate to everything you're going through. And Fatma is also an actress, brand manager, a community manager, a content and YouTube creator, PR manager, and sister and lover. And her most recent endeavor is called I Am Mother. And you say it's a method and also experiences, which I'm very curious to understand more and hear more about it. So I guess, yeah, that's what I wanted to introduce you. And I give it to you now. Tell us a little bit about you, the story. What do you do? Why I'm mother? Why these videos? I'm curious about it.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. Thank you for a beautiful intro. And every time I have to introduce myself and, tell who I am, it's all these labels, we live in a world with so many labels. And who I truly am is I'm playful, I am serious, I'm a rebel, I'm peaceful. That's the best way to describe me. And always curious. And I am mother, I am other, because the M is in these brackets, right? Is basically my life work, in which I will do it today with all of you, is a way of bringing myself into wholeness and understanding where I come from, and also having a deeper connection with who I am, where my roots lay, why I do the things I do, and how the future will look like. And I brought it in this playful methods all together because I am an actress. I
Mhm.
work in media, and I love to have deep connection with other women. So throughout COVID, everything had to change because the idea was to turn it into a play, into a theatrical play. And of course, that really couldn't happen. So I turned it into an interactive experience, which everyone is invited also today. So I will do a bit of a teaser of how it looks like, and then everyone's invited to join me on the 22nd of March. And I
Mm,
will share a link later that we can share here on the Facebook page as well,
that's
to have a more closed circle and interactive session, and talk about the things that I will show today.
this sounds exciting. I love it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to participate for sure. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Great. So yeah, I'm really happy that Marjoline, that is my partner also in this, that she introduced us and now you're here. So this is exciting. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I'm really honored that I can be a part of this. Yeah, I'm super excited. I really cannot wait to start.
So let's start. Now it's with you, and yeah, enjoy, have fun, and let's do it playful. And I'm sure we're posting, you're posting everything of your work for March 22nd. And yeah, stay tuned, everybody, and looking forward for more.
Yes, thank you
Lots of
so
love.
much.
Enjoy it. Bye bye.
Thank
Happy
you
Happy Women's Day.
for everyone. So first of all, maybe grab pen and paper, because what we'll do is we'll go through my personal story, my personal showcase of my life's story. And throughout those sessions, I've developed a method based on the hero's journey and the heroine's journey by Joseph Campbell and by Maureen Murdoch, and also Shakti Leadership. So this is going to be a bit of a teaser of I Am Mother, in which I share my story and I will ask you questions throughout the session. So let's start. Let's start with the beginning. So you may know the hero's journey from the most common framework for movies and for books, where you have a hero who goes, for example, Mr. Incredible from the movie by Pixar and Disney, who encounters a villain and has to go on this external path, and he's been shaken up by an event, and he has to be the hero, has his cape and his suit, and goes on this path of heroism. The heroine's journey is all about the internal journey. So this is what we will do today in my story. So let's start with this little girl. Once upon a time, there was a little girl, and she didn't really belong to anyone. This was her struggle. She didn't belong to the Turkish, even though her parents were Turkish. She didn't belong to the Dutch because she was born in the Netherlands, but she didn't belong to them. She didn't belong to the Indian, nor the Persian, nor the Moroccan, even though everyone would tell her, oh my God, you look Moroccan. Are you? No, I'm not. She didn't belong to the Muslim community because she was an Alevi, and she didn't belong to her Dutch friends at school because they would ask her all these questions about why are you not wearing a headscarf? Why aren't you fasting? And the Turkish Muslim community would also not accept her because she wasn't fasting. She didn't really understand those questions. So it made her very curious. And from this curiosity, she would ask a lot of questions to her parents. Why am I not? Am I not? Am I? Who am I? And at some point, they would tell her, stop asking questions. Don't speak too much. You speak too loud. So she would ask those questions within herself. And this led to creative expression because through play, she was able to process all of these emotions. And this is what she would do at school, and people would recognize the playfulness inside of her and ask her for plays, for school plays, summertime, in the yard. All of these plays resulted in her having an acting career. And after 15 years of play, she asked herself, is this who I am? And then she realized, no, I'm supporting the stereotypical image of suppressed women in media, because always she would be casted for the role with the headscarf, every time suppressed by a neighbor, a brother, a father, and she didn't want to add to this image anymore, so she decided to go. And she didn't belong to those castings or auditions or the actresses, the directors, the producers, because they would only cast her for those roles and not for the nice girl, the little girl, the cute girl, the sexy girl. Never. So once she started for a new adventure, she found a job in a startup which was growing at the time. And she became very successful in that career. And she was able to travel from Los Angeles to New York, to London, to Istanbul. And after years of success, she noticed that every time she would be up in the air, she would cry because of the silence and the presence. There was no distraction. She would cry. So at one moment, it was her 25th birthday. She was up in the sky, in flight, drinking her champagne to celebrate in between Los Angeles and New York. And she decided no longer to live like this anymore. She wanted a piece of herself to die. And this is the very first part of the heroine's journey, where the hero wakes up because something external happens. The heroine wakes up because something internal is triggered. There is no going back anymore. She wakes up and she wants to change. So my question for you is, what resonates when you hear this story? What is triggered when you hear this story? What is your awakening, or was your awakening? I'm taking one breath right now. And then we go on. So the girl grew up and she learned that she had to unlearn a lot of things, patterns, behavior, beliefs. It was time for a big battle with a past life that didn't fulfill her anymore. She had to fight those demons and slay the dragons. And what she realized was that she was looking for approval and acceptance by others outside of her: authority, producers, directors, managers, her parents. It was time to accept herself. But to accept herself, she had to come face to face, eye to eye with those beliefs that didn't fulfill her anymore. And she didn't want it anymore. So this is the second part of the journey, the battle. The battle begins. What part And this is a question for you. What part of yourself has to die? What is the behavior, the belief, the thoughts that need to die right now, or that you're maybe not ready for? Because for the heroine and the hero to continue, there has to be a battle. And this can be an internal battle, an external battle. It has all to do with letting a piece die of yourself and stop doing and start doing. So we continue the journey. For her to understand herself truly and deeply, she wanted to understand her roots. And not only the country where she came from or her parents came from, but really the roots, the core essence of who she was, who she is. And to understand that, she wanted to dive back into the womb of her great-grandmother, her grandmother, and her mother. And throughout, she learned that the pain of her mother, of her silenced rebellion, because she learned she shouldn't speak too much as a girl, like her mother did. She understood that her mother's rebellion in the silence was a similar rebellion as the way her grandmother had passed away. Her grandmother spoke out by letting a piece of herself die, which was a little baby in her womb, and she didn't want to accept carrying this baby. And at that time, there was no support, there was no community about these very deep, vulnerable, painful topics. And she had to do it all on her own, but she wanted to speak out. And by speaking out and up, a very heroic and super painful traumatic story, she ended her own life. And by learning this, that little girl understood that speaking up and drawing boundaries and speech in general was something that was a part of the core essence of her tribe, of her ancestral line. And this core wound that she got to know was something she had to learn to accept. And this is part 3 of the journey. What is the inner patriarchy, the inner demon, the inner dragon, the inner pain, the core wound that we have to accept that is there? What is that story that is maybe not mine physically, but is the story of the women behind me that have found a new way of living, who or what is been channeled through my experience on earth right now? What is it that translates itself to this time and age that I've collected and gathered on my back? And this part of the journey was super painful for me, for the little girl, and has given me something greater, a gift. And that's the 4th part of the journey. The gift is the superpower, but also the kryptonite. And what it means is that when I speak up, I feel so strong and so empowered. And when I withhold, it's the other end of speak. It is my kryptonite. And I burn from the inside. So the girl grew up to learn how to speak up, to learn how to accept herself and allow herself to speak in a world where she wouldn't find that safety to speak. And with that, discovering your gift is a very important part of the journey, of the heroine journey. What is your gift? What is the part that you have to accept, that is part of you, that is your superpower and your kryptonite? And when the heroine accepts this part of her, accepts her wholeness, both the painful and the celebration of who she is, when she can combine those two, how does she return back to the world? Does she return back to the world where she woke up? Or does she go further towards a new tribe and a new world? And this is where the story ends and where she can wake up again to continue that growth of the journey. And this is just a little teaser of my work of I Am Mother. And what we would do next is open up the conversation and listen to your stories and listen to your mothers, grandmothers' pains and beliefs and behaviors that fueled you or that held you in a position that you have to wake up from at some point in your life. I'm very grateful to be a part of Grandma's March. I invite you all for my session on the 22nd of March, and the link will be shared here on the Facebook event page. And I wish you all a beautiful Women's Day where you celebrate yourself, celebrate other women or mothers or grandmothers. And I wish for all of you that you feel the support that you send into the world. We all got your back too. And wishing you a beautiful day, of course. Sending lots of love, and thank you so much for having me here today.
Step by step, she breaks through. She starts dancing, singing, moving, and she's not alone. She's surrounded by all these other different stories and all these different other women surrounding her, holding her hand, her own tribe.